Mr. Sirius and I are so thankful that our subcommittee chairman on Western Hemisphere, Mr. Duncan of South Carolina, has joined us. As I mentioned, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Sirius is the ranking member of that subcommittee, and Mr. Duncan is the chairman of that subcommittee, a valiant voice for freedom that must be heard. Mr. Duncan, as much time as he may consume.
I want to thank the chairwoman. Former chairwoman of the full committee when I first came, and a real leader on foreign affairs issues focused on Cuba and Venezuela. I've been a real mentor to me, and I want to thank her for her work on this, giving us the opportunity to speak tonight. Again, Ranking Member Sirius has been a champion on our subcommittee. I want to echo the words about Mr. Castro as well. We've got a great subcommittee on the Western Hemisphere focusing on freedom and democracy in the Western Hemisphere. And what we see in Venezuela is alarming as well as it is saddening when we hear about Venezuelans who are scrounging for food in the dumpsters, eating domesticated animals, even flamingos. People that are hungry because the socialistic policies of the Maduro and the previous Chavez regime has not worked in Venezuela, a country that has bountiful natural resources, more oil than Saudi Arabia, America, should be leading this hemisphere in economics. But yet, because of the policies of the Chavez and Maduro governments, the people of Venezuela are continued to be oppressed. This weekend, more than 2,000 Venezuelans took to the streets, marking, I think, the 50th day of protest against this regime. I can't think of any other way to describe this faux democracy in Venezuela other than a regime, because the Venezuelan people are standing up and calling for a new government. They're calling for more democracy, true democracy, representation in their own government. Freedoms that we take for granted here in this country, freedoms of speech, peacefully assemble, the right to participate in their government and have accountability, the right to petition their government for grievances. And they've got some grievances against the Maduro regime. But yet, Maduro continues to oppress the Venezuelan people. It's not unlike what we have seen in Cuba. Folks, socialism doesn't work, and it's not working in Venezuela, and they're a prime example. But Maduro doesn't want to listen to his own people in Venezuela and call for new democratic elections where the people elect their representatives to Congress and to the presidency. But he has called for elections, and he said just recently, votes or bullets. What do the people want? Maduro asked a crowd of red-shirted supporters waving Venezuela flags at the Miraflores presidential palace. Votes or bullets? Is that how we talk about the democratic process in a true democracy? I say no. And I tell the Venezuelan people, America stands with you as you approach democracy. It's time for more people in this hemisphere at the Organization of American States, all the member countries, to stand with the Venezuelan people, and let's change the government in Venezuela through peaceful means, democratic means that their Constitution calls for. But yet Maduro is ignoring the Constitution. In fact, he got the Supreme Court to go along with him to discount the National Assembly there. And luckily, they reversed course on that because they realized the world was watching. And the world was saying, that's not how democracies operate. The Venezuelan people need the support of the world. And I call today to come to the backs, standing with, watching the backs of the Venezuelan people. Because Maduro has told his snipers to get ready. Told his snipers to get ready to attack the protesters that are protesting a supposed Democrat government. Wow. Wow. So I want to thank the chairwoman. I want to thank Ambassador Nikki Haley, former governor of South Carolina, who has stood strong in the UN as ambassador to the UN for the Trump administration. I want to thank her for standing with the Venezuelan people for democratic principles. I want to thank all those in this chamber, including my ranking member, for having stern and direct conversations with the OAS about Venezuela. I want to thank Argentina for what they've done, stepping up to the plate. These are countries that understand the democratic process. I want to thank Brazil for actually allowing the democratic process to work in the country of Brazil through an impeachment of their president and allowing the democratic forces to work to return that to a representative government. It's time for America to stand with our friends about democratic principles here. Snipers? That's not how we operate. Thanks for your leadership. I yield back, Madam Chairman.